Well, hello everybody. Welcome to day 13. I have a really important message to share with you guys, and I figured this is the perfect place to do it. You'll see why in a minute. But here I am, outside in the woods and the sunlight, enjoying the vitamin D, the nitric oxide, the phytoncides, which you guys learned about in that MedCram video, which I talked about in a previous video, to increase the natural killer cells of our body, part of our innate immune system. And I've been trying to think of an analogy here, because there's new research that just came out about hydroxychloroquine and zinc. I'll put that link right up here. Turns out that when you combine zinc with hydroxychloroquine, as I predicted back in the first 40-day challenge, within the first week, literally within the first week. How about I just put that link up there where back in March I was talking about this with, I think by myself and then eventually with Jordan. But we talked about how zinc works inside the cells and why the zinc won't work unless you're using it with hydroxychloroquine, because hydroxychloroquine ushers the zinc into the cell. And that zinc is in fact shown to be have strong antiviral effects. So it's no surprise that when you take the hydroxychloroquine with the zinc, that it is more effective statistically in many, many different variables. So you can listen to that yourself. You can listen to me talk about it, and then you can listen to the MedCram video. This is all brand new research that just came out. But again, this is something that we talked about 2 months ago, quite literally. Now you may say, well, geez, how did you know that, Tom? Well, I'm going to try to explain how I knew that. How I not that I knew it, but I could predict it. So here's the analogy. Imagine a dam. Okay, there's a dam that is holding back an entire lake worth of water. And if that dam breaks, it's going to kill the whole village. Now, does it matter how strong the lake, the dam is? Of course. What makes it strong? Well, the bricks it's made of, the mortar, obviously the quality of the construction of those bricks, how thick it is, all those things matter. I want you to think of that as part of your innate immune system. Once that breaks, that's tantamount to the lake breaking and the cytokine storm to follow. Now we know that the zinc and the hydroxychloroquine and most medicines won't work well once that cytokine storm hits. Cytokine storm. Won't work well once that cytokine storm hits. And there's reasons for that. We can talk about that another time. I'm just telling you how I knew what I knew 2 months ago. So once that hits, once that cytokine storm starts going, now the body's literally overreacting to a situation. All right, the body is going crazy. That would be like now the dam starts to break. All of the villagers run to the dam in an effort to save their children. Right. Of course, what's going to happen as that dam starts to break, and as those villagers move toward the broken dam, guess what happens? They start dying. Right. The water. They succumb to the water. That's going to crush them. But they can't help but think, well, I need to plug up this giant hole in the dam, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And some of them are able to get to the wall and maybe do some pathetic work there to try to stop it, but it's just overwhelming. Okay, so you may say, okay, well, how do I make my wall thicker, stronger, and better? Now I'm going to differentiate between two things, so pay attention. To make your wall stronger and thicker, a couple of things that you need to do, because there's something else to be done. So don't assume you know the answer. So listen to the analogy. Don't jump to conclusions. Listen. Everybody thinks they know something. Listen to me. Well, you can get your 7.5 hours of sleep every night. You can lose weight. You can make sure that you do your breath work, meaning that you breathe right, meaning that you're getting the nitric oxide into your body, which means that you're using your parasinuses. And if you're unfamiliar with what I'm talking about here, this has been my pound the fist into the table for the past 80 days. This is why I do the breath work with you guys, because I'm trying to teach you guys how to breathe correctly through your noses. If you're somebody that snores at night, this is why heart disease is mapped onto snoring, sleep apnea, because it is a huge issue with breathing. You're not getting the vasodilation from the nitric oxide through the parasinuses. Now, these are all ways to help make that dam thicker. But what else could we do? Well, we could also make a deeper lake, meaning we could dredge out the lake. So if we were able to drop the water level, that would put a lot less pressure on the wall. You see that? You see where I'm going? We could also make the lake wider. So by dredging out the lake and making the lake wider, more surface area, it spreads the water out. So now there's not so much pressure on that wall. Now that is what I'm talking about when I am describing the hormetic response. All right, so now we're putting less pressure on the wall. So we're decreasing the pressure on the wall, so that when the pressure does rise up, it's only going back up to where it used to be, right? To where the water level used to be, and we know that the wall is good there. So that would be doing things like heat. We're starting, that's what we talked about. We talked about those heat shock proteins, getting into the heat, the sauna, getting into the cold, and of course, exercise, and as well as certain foods that increase the hormetic response. Now, speaking of waters and lakes, look at that water and lakes. Look at that beautiful view over there. There's lots of beautiful things in this world, guys. Got to get out and check it out for yourself. All right. So, using the hormetic response to your advantage. Now, obviously, there's certain types of breath work that work via the hormetic response, certain types of food that work via the hormetic response. We've talked about this. That's why some people, when they eat certain foods, their body goes kind of crazy, because their bodies literally can't tolerate those foods, because when something is working via the hormetic response, it's a challenge to the body, just like exercise is a challenge to the body, just like heat is a challenge to the body, just like cold is a challenge to the body. So guys, what I'm really saying is you get tough. You teach your body to get tough. You teach it to get tough through the cold, through the heat, through the foods that you eat, through the exercise that you do. This is how you make the lake deeper. This is how you make it wider. You want to get the wall thicker, get your sleep. You want to make the wall thicker, lose some weight. You want to make the wall thicker, breathe properly. You want to make the wall thicker, supplement properly. Get what I'm saying, guys? So now we could keep talking about medicine, and we could talk about remdesivir and hydroxychloroquine and all this stuff, or we could just learn how to be badasses and not have to worry about nonsense like this virus unless you're 80 years old, and start having like real conversations about science and biology, and start laughing at each other for wearing masks. I mean, unless you're 350 pounds and 75 years old, I don't criticize my mom for going outside with a mask on, okay? But that's not the average person. We need to start recognizing who's actually at risk and what we do when we don't understand. Because the average person walking around today just doesn't know any of the stuff that I just shared with you guys. And it's a damn shame, because I've been saying it since March 15th. But what do I know? All right, everybody. Have a great rest of the day.